now, or is that something that you're looking to do now?
In terms of promoting that career.
Right, and promoting your institution as a place where people go to get skills that they need.
And I think again, it just comes with educating people on what it is that we do. We have to address the stigma of community colleges and show our value. I think we've known it and we've kind of commiserated with each other that, oh wow, people think of us as, second-class citizens or whatever. Yeah. But I think we have to shake off that inferiority complex and say this is what we do and we do it really well. And this is our value to the community. I think if we looked at the number of graduates that come from community colleges and they reside in the Memphis area, we'll see how much we have poured into this local economy already. You look at most of our, this is nationally, first responders, police officers, EMT, nurses, the technology folks that work in allied health fields, they have started at a community college. So we really have nothing to hang our heads about. We've allowed ourselves to be seen as second class, but we're not second class by any means, and we can prove that to people by what we have already produced. So it's not so much will we start to see our role as filling the middle skills gap. I think it's telling what we've already done and what we do to fill that middle skills gap.
Well, getting people to understand it, because I think that's the issue. People really don't understand.
They don't understand it. They don't understand. And I think we have to get beyond, I think, working closely with the high schools and the guidance counselors to help help them to tell our story about what it is that we do. I think Tennessee Promise has been wonderful because people that have not given us a thought in the past, they're rethinking. When you're looking at the last dollar scholarship and you're thinking, okay, so I can get a good quality education and my student or my child can move on to a four-year institution and the debt can be lower, and it's still, because community college students, when they do transfer to a four-year institution, they are as prepared or more prepared than students that have started initially.
When you talk about debt, and on a national perspective, Dr. Hall, I look at this thing, they're talking about school choice on K through 12 and how school vouchers or portability, the money following the student. At some point, can we get to in this country where the average taxpayer who attends a state institution in their state, that same portability can follow? I mean, why aren't we there yet? And I'm assuming, I'm not talking about Pell Grant, because Pell Grants are, typically they may fill the entire bill, but they may not. But if we can afford to pay for K through 12 education, can we not afford to pay for free college education, as I think it's Bernie Sanders and I think Hillary Clinton jumped on board after a while with? Can we not do something like that with some federal dollars?
Well, I think we have an example here already in Tennessee.
With
Tennessee Promise.
Tennessee Promise.
And looking at, so if our students, for example, if they come to us and they have a expected family contribution of 0, well, most of our students receive 100% Pell Grant. But again, as I said, that population of students, that middle income family.
That's the issue right there.
That's what people don't focus on. The middle income family. So I was a first generation student, and I could not receive financial aid because by the government standard, I made my mother made too much money. But in fact, we didn't make enough money.
Right.
And so I couldn't get a Pell Grant, and so we struggled to pay tuition. And I can remember being withdrawn from classes because that bill is due, and if you don't have the bill, you're withdrawn. So I know that experience. And so if we had a Tennessee Promise or something where there was a last dollar scholarship, the money that I didn't get from Pell Grant, that could have assisted me. And so we don't focus on that middle income family that's struggling to send their child to school. And so community colleges, as we talk about, is your best choice. And we think not only Southwest, but community colleges all around, because you can have an affordable education at a lower cost, and families can afford that.
You're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kadukia Network. We're visiting this evening with Dr. Tracy Hall, the president of Southwest Tennessee Community College.
Yeah. But in addition to being able to get a quality education for, I guess, not the same amount of money that you have to pay for four-year college, you're also resolving an issue of getting people job ready.
Absolutely.
Right? And getting them into those jobs that are going vacant because there are not people with skills to fill them.
Right. And so one of the initiatives we're working on with the whole redesign of Southwest is looking at pathways. Nationally, we're talking about pathways, and locally now we're talking about pathways. And so that's for whatever entry point you have. And so if you're coming in and you want to be an accountant, but you can't, and that requires a bachelor's degree, but right now you just need a job. And so we're looking at the whole stackable credentials. And so you may come in and have a short-term certificate, and that gets you a credential enough to get just a job, right? And so then once you make some money, you come back, and then you go and you may get an associate of applied science, and you go and you work, and then you come back on that path, and then you go to your bachelor's degree. That's where we're headed, so that students can have an on and off ramp, because no longer is it okay just to say this is your only choice.
Right.
When people are saying, well, I need a job right now, and I need a credential, and 2 years is too long, or 4 years is too long. Well, so let's set it up so that you can have some stackable credentials, get enough skills to work an entry-level job, and then come back when it's when you're able to. And sometimes jobs pay.
Or get enough skills to where you can work the job in the field that you are aspiring to go into.
Absolutely.
If you wanted to go be an accountant, perhaps you could start out in another field where accounting is an essential part of it.
Absolutely.
And then while you're going to school, you're earning money, so you don't have to go into debt and pay for school. Because I'm not so sure that four-year college is necessary now for a lot of things we're doing either. I think it's time for us to sort of rip the floorboards up on all of these things. So we're not talking about community college versus four-year college, we're just talking about college, educational attainment.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where we need to be right
And maybe just experience, like you say, that stackable. Look, I go in as an accounting clerk, and I'm doing. We all know the accounting clerk does it.
How much better would the legal profession be if lawyers were paralegals before they were lawyers?
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
If they understood the essentials of research and everything else before they jumped in, if you just look at what's happening right now with the number of lawyers being disciplined, malpractice cases, and rates going up, I can tell you that. It's all about the way we approach the whole issue of education and job readiness. And I think you guys are at the forefront of it.